What is going on? So in this video, what I want to do is just go through the process and framework to follow when you get an objection. Essentially, the objection handling framework. Now, the reason it's important to have a framework is so that you don't panic when you get an objection. So many closers get an objection and they go through the habit of just saying, why? Why do you need to think about it? And they almost butt heads and clash, and it gets combative, and the prospect doesn't really appreciate it. The trust goes out the window. So what I want you guys to learn from this training is how to actually follow a process to keep calm, collected, know exactly what to do, and how to navigate them without getting stressed whatsoever. Okay, so let's start straight away. So there's 5 main steps, couple bonus moves as well. But the purpose of this framework is for you to think of it like a sieve. You know, when you're draining pasta, or I don't know, you're making peas and you're draining it, the sieve you use to filter out the water, you can see that as what we're using to filter out all the smoke screens to get the real objection. Once we're left with that gold, you can actually handle it properly. So all you can see it as is you're just getting rid of all the bullshit and all the stuff that's not really real to get to the true objection. So the first step of the framework is step 1, and it's to diffuse. A lot of prospects don't feel comfortable sharing the true objection, and they feel like you're going to pounce on them and try sell them as soon as you give them some form of objection. So this step is to really make them feel comfortable, make the objection seem normal, and remove any tension, and just pretty much build that comfort. Okay, so stay calm and collected. Don't react defensively. Your tone should make them feel like it's not that big of a deal. For example, no worries at all. My girlfriend would probably be the same. Or, yeah, totally fair. Let's unpack it together if you don't mind. Just really just being relaxed, making it seem normal, just making them feel comfortable. The goal here is to just diffuse themselves and just take away their guard. Okay? Now, step 2 is to confirm the buy-in. Reason this is really important is because there is no point handling an objection, a money objection, if the prospect isn't sold on the actual process, the program, the service, whatever. There's no point whatsoever, because you can't sell someone on something if they're not bought in the first place. Okay? So what we want to do on step 2 is just confirm the buy-in, confirm they're bought in on the process. And this is essentially a mini temp check, checking the temperature of the prospect, where they're at, if they're interested or not. So you really just want to ask, okay, sweet. So objection aside, or whatever they said aside, money aside, do you honestly feel like the process I just went over can actually help you get to XYZ goal? Insert their goal. So insert objection aside, and then insert the goal, pretty much asking them if they're bought in on the process. And if they say yes with confident energy and tonality, you want to ask why though. You know, you really want to get them to double down and explain why they're sold. And you can sort of gauge if someone actually is sold or not. Okay. And then let's say they say, oh yeah, I really like the community. Why is that important to you specifically? So what you're doing is you're getting loads of little micro commitments to get them to commit to the program. Okay. Now, if you sense any hesitation or lack of confidence, probe and handle accordingly. Exactly like the temp check. If someone says, yeah, they're probably not sold. So what you want to do is you want to tackle that straight on. Okay, well, it seems like you're not the most confident. Is there anything holding you back at all? Or it doesn't seem so. Anything holding you back? Or anything that makes you feel like maybe this is not the vehicle? Right, you really want to get rid of that uncertainty before you handle any other objections. Okay, so most people, just to recap, will say yes, but it might not always be a confident yes. All right? Next step is to probe. One of the main mistakes I see closers making is not actually understanding the objection. Now, us humans, we assume a lot of things. We assume just because we have a bit of data on someone's pain or an objection, we know exactly what it is. For example, when someone says money, we assume that they mean maybe they can't afford it. All right? But this leaves loads of possibilities to what the true objection could be. For example, money could mean either they've got the money, but they're too scared to jump in, which is fear, or they need a payment plan, they don't have the money, all right? So there's a few different variations of that. So probing, really important once you've confirmed the buy-in to actually realize, what is this objection? Do I fully understand it? What do they actually mean? Because if you don't understand it, you can't handle it, okay? It's like handling a think about it, which is a smokescreen, and it being a money objection, right? You're just handling something completely different. Okay, so dig into the objection. What are they actually saying? What do they actually mean? Clarify what they mean instead of assuming. Use open-ended and specific questions. What do you mean by that? Or when you say objection, do you mean option A or option B? I'll give you an example of this. When you say it's a lot of money, do you mean it's completely out of your budget and you want to do this, or you've got the money, it's just a bit of a big jump? All right, so that's probing in to understand if it's fear or it's money logistical. All right, when you say you need to think about things, what specifically do you feel like you need to go over? Right, and if they don't answer to that, you just probe in a different way. Okay, sweet. So when you do go away and maybe speak to your partner, what do you think will come up? Or what would you say the main thing that making you want to think about things is? Asking it in different variations just to get different answers. Okay. So once you've understood the full objection, once you've probed in enough, and by the way, I can't stress enough how important this part is, actually probing in. Don't just move ahead if you even don't know what the objection is, if you're just slightly assuming. You want to get it fully down, know exactly what this objection is. Next step is to label. Once you're pretty up to scratch in terms of what this objection is, you want to just put it through the sieve one more time. Okay, put it through that filter one more time and just triple confirm. All right, so you pretty much just want to double confirm and ask, okay, so it seems like you're 100% on the process, you're clear on the offer. The only thing that's holding you back is insert objection. Is that right? And what you're doing here is you're just confirming it. Right? Some people will just agree for the sake of it, but a lot of people say, yeah, 100%, that's right. Or they'll tell you the real objection. And then if you want to double confirm it, you can say, are you sure there's nothing else holding you back at all? Right? And after this, you can't do too much more to put it through the sieve, put it through the filter and find out what the real objection is, but you should have gotten the real objection by now. And after you've done all of this, you've essentially found out the real objection and you can go to reframe it and handle it accordingly. Now, with handling objections, a lot of people go emotional to start with, but logic supersedes emotion to start with. So you want to shift their belief and overcome the objection, but you want to start with logic because logic is just so much easier to handle and invalidate their objection. For example, let's say someone says they don't have enough time to put into this, right? Or they don't have enough time to, I don't know, follow the program or, keep up with the service, whatever. It's so much easier to literally break down the amount of time they have in the day and just point out how they can put an extra hour a day in versus going emotional and saying, is this important to you? And do you really want to commit to this? And, going deep, right? So start with logic. For example, let's say someone needs to speak to their partner. You'd essentially ask them if they need their partner's permission, if they always speak to their partner when they're making a decision, if they have shared bank accounts, get the data on it. And if they don't, you want to challenge that. If they don't need permission, then ask them to get rocking and rolling. And if that doesn't work, then you want to go emotional with things. Right? Usually it's probably a deep-rooted objection, right? Maybe it's not actually the partner side of things. Maybe they're just fearful. Maybe they've never done something like this before. So you want to go emotional, right? So logic first, then emotional. Right. A few more examples. If you wait 3 months, what does that cost you? Someone who's skeptical. Do you see any red flags in us? Do you see any green flags in us? Let's break down how much time you have in the day. Like I said, if logic doesn't land, you're into emotional fear of staying stuck, cost of inaction, identity and future pacing. All right. So this is the 5-step process to handling objections. After this, I usually do a temp check just to check if you've handled that objection or if there's anything else. So you pretty much say, after reframing, after you feel like you've gotten through, so is that still a concern, or where's your head out now? Or is there anything else that would potentially hold you back? Or is there anything else making you feel unsure? Okay, so you're 100% in and ready to do this, right? That's how you know, no more objections, that one's handled. If there is an objection, you just want to loop back to the start. But the key is, if you're handling another objection, you don't need to confirm the buy-in again because that just gets repetitive. But yeah, just keep on looping until you've got through all the objections. If you have got through those objections, just go for the close. Simple as that. And this is what a lot of closers don't do. They don't go for the close. All right. Why don't we just get started then? Next step is to get you onboarded and start with us. You ready to get rocking and rolling? All right. So yeah, pretty much that is it in terms of the process. Any questions, let me know. Yeah, reminder, most closers lose deals because they assume they know the objection. Don't assume, ask, confirm, label, reframe, do it properly, and the close becomes easy. Have a beautiful day, guys, and let me know if you need anything.